Thank you, Grace. Well, it's been quite a journey, and I will say it's the beginning of a very long journey, and one that I'm excited about. It was only, would you believe, in late March this year, and the idea came. I think I spoke to my brother and a few of my closest advisors and friends and said, you know what, at that time Miss Gillard was the Prime Minister of Australia, and I guess it did start a little bit before that, because when she was elected as Prime Minister, or she was never elected, she was, we can remember history, what happened. I said, if Julia Gillard ever becomes the Prime Minister of this country, then I will run for politics. And but I put a disclaimer that not necessarily within the next 20 years, but whatever happened, that it was a decision we made earlier this year. And I think, like a lot of Australians, that we felt, really just so disillusioned or disenfranchised with our political system and I guess the political circus in Canberra, that we thought, we've got to do something about this. And I remember talking to my brother Dennis and said, you know what, this may be the only opportunity we get to really launch a serious third party in this country to try and take on the two-party duopoly, the Coles and Woolworths of politics as far as Labor and Liberal, and try and create significant change in this country. And I said, look, we need to do something about it. And so we thought about it, and I didn't sleep for a week, because I realized that you can't make decisions lightly. If you're going to launch something and start something, I guess it's like a snowball. And when you start that snowball, it's small in the beginning. But once you start to get some momentum, you have to accept that you set a course in your destiny, I guess, that can't really be reversed. And you have to be prepared at that point to say, are you serious? And are you willing to follow through? Are you willing to accept the sacrifice and the responsibility that snowball could one day turn into? And if you're not prepared to do that, then don't make a decision that's lighthearted, but make a decision that is for the long term and for the betterment of this country. And I guess that's why I didn't sleep for a week, because tossing and turning, do I really want to do this? And the answer really was, not necessarily, but that's not the right question to ask. The question was, are you prepared to do this for your country? Are you prepared to be a voice for people that don't feel like they have a voice anymore in this country? Are you prepared to have the courage and guts to stand up against the things that are not right and that could be so much better, but they're not, because people aren't willing to speak the truth and be willing to stand out and be a leader? And I eventually decided, a week later, it was April 1st. And I said, you know what, if we send out a press release, it was a public holiday, remember, April 1st. I forgot it was April 1st, and I forgot that meant it was April Fool's Day. So I said to the team, send out a press release. Yes, I will announce my candidacy for the seat of New England, because if I'm going to start a party anywhere in this country, if I'm going to run anywhere in this country, there's one place I want to run, and that's where I'm from Glen Innes and New England, because that's the one part of this country I feel most passionately connected for, and the one part of the country I'd want to give back and contribute to. And so they sent out the press release. It was a public holiday. I was expecting, look, tomorrow the press will ring up, the media, they want to ask questions. So I was heading off in to catch a movie on the Gold Coast at Robina, and within half an hour the press release going out, there's phone calls coming in from the media. And so I had to duck out of the movies, and here I was in the middle of the shopping centre and all the noise, doing an ABC national radio interview, and the first question I asked, is this an April Fool's Day joke? And then I said, actually, I forgot it was April Fool's Day. No, it's serious. I'm actually running in the seat of New England against Tony Windsor at the time. And we are serious about launching a party. And that was the beginning. And from then on, it has been a roller coaster ride of so much has started to happen. We set out some goals when we started. We said, you know what, if we're going to achieve a certain goal for this country in 10 years, and being realistic that it would take at least 10 years to create a strong third party in this country, not being deluded thinking that we can do it in 3 or 4 months, but being serious about it and having a long-term vision of a 10, 20, 30-year vision for this country, that we have to start somewhere. And every journey started with the first step. So we started with that first step. And some of the goals would say, you know what, we'll go in this election because one of the goals will be we need to learn as much as we can. Because by learning as much as we can, we'll be prepared for the future of what's necessary and what it's really going to take. And I would say that as far as that goal, we as a team and organisation have learned so much that we know what we would do differently next time, and we know what's required next time. And so I would say that's been a success as far as what we've learned so far. So that's a big part of it. The second part of it, as far as New England, was in 2010. If you remember back to that election, the hung parliament. I was overseas at the time, and heard it was a hung parliament, and it was going to come down to a couple of independents that would choose who goes to govern for the next 3 years in 2010. And then after a week or so, whenever it was, a certain Tony Windsor and Rob Oakeshott made a decision that decided to put the Labor government back into power, the Gillard government, despite the fact that only 8% of New England voters had supported Labor, and in Oakeshott's seat, not much more. And I was betrayed. I felt betrayed. I felt, as a New England voter, appalled that someone could make a decision against the wishes of the voters who just elected him as an independent for the seat of New England. And as a result of that, I was really fired up, and I thought, this is not right. Whatever your political persuasion is, I believe in democracy. I believe in true democracy. And what voters say is what voters should get. And when I felt that was being betrayed, not just in New England, but the entire country. And one of the reasons we've had so much support to run in New England around this country is there are so many Australians to this day that feel betrayed about that decision that two certain independents made. And I said, and I put it in the paper at the time, that I'd fund $250,000 to see that Tony Windsor wasn't re-elected. And as far as that goal, as far as setting that goal, I think we've achieved that goal, because guess what? Tony Windsor was not re-elected to the seat of New England. Not only that, he did not run. He chose to quit instead of face Barnaby Joyce and myself. And, that's his choice, what he did. But I'd rather risk failure, because I don't see it as failure. I see in life the way to become successful, it's only a result and an outcome, and you look at that result and outcome and say, what is it necessary to progress to the result and outcome that we want? So I never see it as failure, so I can't see that we can have failure. I see we have learning experiences, we have opportunity to grow and to learn, and we have an opportunity to spread the message. So as far as the other goal that we had in launching 21st Century Australia as a party that would want to overhaul the entire 19th century political system we have in this country, the 19th century education system we have in this country. As a party, what our goal was to get exposure, to be put our name on the map and let Australians know there is a party that's out there that is not about a party, but as a movement. It's about the people and trying to get the power, to return the power back to Australian voters. The power that's been denied from many Australian voters. The power through compulsory voting that supports the two major parties. The power through the preferential voting system that supports the two major parties. That creates a duopoly where Australians, I don't think, should have been forced to have to choose between a Kevin Rudd and a Tony Abbott, because I think there's better political leadership and there's better leaders in this country than those two choices that were given today right across this country. And I believe if you ask the majority of people who have given alternative choices, they would prefer to vote with alternative choices. And we want to see this country gets a wide range of choices. So as a result of that, we wanted to gain exposure. And from day one, from April 1st when we launched, and as the momentum evolved, the amount of support that come in around this country for the ideas and concept of an emerging third party force was so far beyond what we ever anticipated, what we ever imagined as an organisation, as a team of people. And it built our strength every day, every week, not only speaking to countless amounts of media and spreading the word, and the team that has worked. And you can achieve nothing in this world without a team. And I'm simply a face of that team. a very passionate face of that team, but I'm simply one part of that jigsaw. And I'm proud to be part of a team and organisation. And I was speaking to one of the journalists today and said, you know what, she wanted to know where is the party going to go from here. I said, you got to understand this, is that I've been campaigning for the last 15 years. I've been out there for the last 15 years as an educator, educating people around this country and saying to people, and for those who have been to my seminars or listened to my DVDs, the one message I've started off for 15 years to say, you know what, I will help you. I will share everything I know that I've learned from people that's made a big difference in my life to help you in your life. All I ask in return is one day, if I help you, that one day in the future that you will help me unite this country. You will support me as a united group of people, that we can go out and collectively as a group of people make a positive difference and change this country. So for 15 years I've been campaigning. So are we willing to stick by and progress into the future? Well, we've been doing this for 15 years. Do you think we're prepared to do it for another 15 years? Do you think we're prepared for 20, 30 years and have a vision and go out there and spread the message that Australia can achieve so much more? I would say absolutely. And that's why I'm excited, because this is just the beginning. And we've excelled past that goal out of, I don't know the exact amount of articles, but I was talking about this recently, is that there's been over 150 press articles wrote about 21st Century Australia since we launched on April 1st around this country in all the major papers. And ironically, 149 of those articles have been in the Fairfax Press, and only one of those in the News Corp Press, because News Corp, as you know, is owned by Rupert Murdoch, and Rupert Murdoch decided that he wanted Tony Abbott as the next Prime Minister, and therefore that was incredibly, News Corp has been blatantly biased. On the other side of politics, you have the ABC, which is meant to represent the Australian people. It's very biased the other side. So we've have to deal with tremendous bias, and I give acknowledgement to Fairfax media as at least being down the middle of the road and supporting the emergence of new parties and actually talking about that. So that's why we said it would take 10 years. Why? Because there's a limit to how long Rupert Murdoch's shareholders will support him in running loss-making papers so he can choose who the Prime Minister of our country is. There's a limit to how long mainstream papers will be able to dictate to the Australian people there's only two choices of who you can vote for, when there's more than two choices. Because social media is on the rise. So it mightn't be 3 years the next election, 6 years the election after that, 9 years the election after that. Social media is on the rise. And that means that's uniting people to be able to work together and say, we choose who we vote for, we choose where the information comes from. And that will give power to the emerging parties that you're already starting to see right now. And congratulations to Clive Palmer, who's polled very well in this election. And I give him credit, whether we believe in all his policies or whatever, but at least he's having a go. And you'll see that there's a lot of people willing to protest against the two major parties. In saying that, I do acknowledge and congratulate Tony Abbott for becoming our next Prime Minister. They haven't called that yet, but it's looking very obvious as we predicted. And that will see the coalition form government. And it's unlikely that we will see a Labor government in this country for considerable time yet. And I don't want to be politically biased, but I think that's a good thing for this country. And so congratulations to Tony Abbott, congratulations to Barnaby Joyce. I always said that if I wasn't elected to New England, that I would support Barnaby Joyce. I think he will be a great candidate for New England. It's been great spending time with him, and I've learned a lot from Barnaby. And I always said from the beginning, I will not run a negative campaign. And I think if New England voters were to acknowledge that, it's been a pretty positive campaign. We haven't been out there, and a lot of people are turned off by Australian politics by the fact that it's such a negative campaign. Even Kevin Rudd, when he returned to the Prime Ministership a few months ago, said, I will not run a negative campaign, which should be more positive. And I think Kevin's doing has been the fact that he has run a negative campaign. And I think Australians are over the negative campaign. I think they want to see leaders that go, you know what, tell us your vision for this country. What is your vision for 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And 21st Century Australia is not just a political party. It started as a movement, and it'll be a policy think tank. And many of our policies have been taken up already by the major parties, and we expect many more of our policies will be taken up by the major parties, because they'll recognise there's people that are supporting these policies and people want to see these policies introduced. And so many people said, you know what we love about your party is that at least we know what your policies are. Many other parties, they'll tell us their policies after this election, not before, because they don't want you to know. So this Australia wants policy debate, and we will be a big part of that. In Wednesday next week, I fly to Sydney to speak to the New South Wales Parliament, because I've been one of 3 speakers invited on behalf of, as a representative for 21st Century Australia, to share our vision for this nation from now to 2050. And I look forward to doing that and many more, because we actually have a vision and we actually have strategies. And so many people have said, we want common sense in Canberra, and that's why we're voting for 21st Century Australia. So I'm actually excited. I'm excited by the amount of support we have around this country. Of course, for many of you would know that the AEC prevented us from being in this election, and that was disappointing, because we were very confident with the amount of support we have. We have over 550,000 people on the 21st Century database of people over the last 15 years that have been impacted through 21st Century. They are passionate supporters. They are real people that care deeply about this country. And I don't know any other political party in this country that can say they have the passion at a deep heart level as we do. And there's people even here in this room that have travelled, quite some distance to be here. I really respect that, to come all the way to the country and support us, that would have loved to support us around the country. The amount of people that have been saying today and for the last few months, they wish they were able to vote for 21st Century Australia, but have been denied that right. And that's why we filed in the High Court this week, because I support democracy, and anything that prevents a party being on a ballot paper is anti-democratic. Whether there was deliberate interference or not, there was deliberate actions taken to prevent that. And I think that's an injustice to the Australian people. When the AEC is telling people non-stop, you should make sure you vote and your vote counts, yet hundreds of thousands of people today were denied the right to vote for their preferred party of choice. And that's a shame, and that's a blight on this country. And however, those people are determined, those people are still there, and many of those people still did vote 21st Century Australia on the ballot paper today, even if they had to draw it on themselves. Some people say that's a waste of vote. Well, I say voting for a party you're forced to vote for that you don't wish to vote for is a waste of vote. Voting for a party that you believe in, that you want to support for now and into the future, then that's never a waste of a vote. And I look forward to the next election, and the way things are looking tonight, that next election could be within 1 or 2 years. Tony Abbott has said he will call a double dissolution election if he doesn't get control of both houses. And we'll see tonight whether he does get control of both houses. We're hoping he doesn't get control of the Senate. And I know, spare the voters in this country that don't want to have to go and vote again another year. As far as 21st Century Australia is concerned, we can't wait to get back to the polls. We can't wait to be on the ballot paper. We can't wait to show this country what it's capable of. And we can't wait to give people a choice to vote for a party that has real leadership, that has real policies, and is absolutely committed to the future of this country. So I want to say I thank each and every one of you in the room tonight, because nothing happens without an amazing effort of support. And there's so many people have been watching to see what we can accomplish. And even though we may be disappointed by some of the votes or lack of votes that we got, but we've got to understand is that because we're forced to run as independents in New England, the trend is clearly against independence in New England right now. That has certainly hurt us. I think if we were able to run under 21st Century Australia in New England, then we wouldn't have had to deal with the fact that independents, obviously of what's happened over the last 3 years, people haven't, been burnt, and I understand that, and that's one of the reasons why I run. And even though we try and explain to people we're not really independents, that message has been very difficult to get through. And of course, that the independent vote's been split as well. But there's a lot of people out there, and you've got to start somewhere. You've got to crawl before you walk. And we've been prepared to do whatever it takes and get on the map. And many people right now know that we're on the map, and many people are looking forward to voting for us in the near future. What we want to do tonight is we want to acknowledge some very important people. As I said, I'm just the face of an awesome team of people that I'm very proud of, and very proud of everyone here, the effort they put in. I firstly want to thank my parents, Neville and Gail McIntyre. It's been great spending so much time back here with my family and being in New England. It's where I'm from. It's actually, I've spent, most of my life here, only just. I'm 40 and I think I've spent 21 years in New England, so I won't be able to say that for much longer. But it's been a real joy to be back in the country, and the country has changed. Spending time in Tamworth and Armidale and Glen Ennis and Inverell and Gunnedah and Walker and Uralla and Tenterfield and pretty much everywhere else. And sorry, Grace, I forgot to mention Gyra, but it's really, I've been really impressed that the quality of life in the country has changed, and it's improved to a lot of degrees. A lot of things we can improve a lot more, but it is really a quality life that you can live outside the city, and as part of our policies is to create an unprecedented regional boom over the next 10, 20, 30 years. And I think the country of Australia has a lot to look forward to. New England has a lot to look forward to. And even though I haven't been elected this time as a member for New England, I'm happy to continue to contribute and assist New England in the improvement of the country, and support Glen Ennis and do whatever we can to help it grow and help more jobs be created here, so more young people can stay and live where they grew up, and live the life that they want to live. So I might call on now to award some prizes. Before we do that, we're going to give out some gifts for some of the team members that have done an awesome job. But I also want to give a big hand to Cassie Newsom, our campaign manager. Give Cassie a huge hand. I couldn't have asked for a better campaign manager, and a campaign manager that was born and bred in Glen Ennis from New England. So that's been an awesome job. And Cassie is someone that doesn't literally sleep. I texted her yesterday. I said, "Can you please sleep?" She goes, "Jamie, I only sleep 3 or 4 hours a night. I'm perfectly rested." So it doesn't matter how tired Cassie gets, she still has a smile on the face. It doesn't matter how difficult it gets. I'm sure there's all sorts of chaos that's going on behind the scenes that I don't know about, and I don't know about it because Cassie takes care of it, and she makes sure I don't know about it. But it's good to know that good management is about letting other people take charge and letting them do the job that they need to do. And I think, if a leader can lead a company or lead an organisation, they'll be able to also lead a country. And if they can't lead a small organisation or any size organisation, then they're going to struggle to lead the nation. And Kevin Rudd comes to that mind because, he has trouble delegating. He's a little dictator, and he's rude to the little people. And one of the things they said why Kevin lost his campaign, out of 4 things, one of those things was, you may remember, he was very rude to a makeup artist a couple of weeks ago in Brisbane before he did the second debate. They said that's one of the reasons why he's lost this campaign. If you can't be nice to everyone or majority of people, then I think you can't lead a nation effectively, and you have to treat everyone equally, and that's the way that I was taught by my parents to treat people. And I think if people come from the country, they have that down-to-earth spirit where they don't think they're above anyone else. And John Howard said it recently, that he's concerned about the future of this country, not only the career politicians, but this elitism where certain politicians think they're above other people. And no politician should ever think they're above the people. They should be below the people and serving, because public service is about serving the public, not the other way around. It's not about the voters serving the government. It's about the government and public servants serving you and doing what you want. And that would be a nice change in government. And when we get our way, that's what we have something to look forward to. So apart from Cassie, I want to acknowledge Grace. Can we give Grace a very big hand? Grace put an enormous amount of effort in. She was a #1 Senate candidate for Queensland, and like many of our candidates around this country, we had Senate candidates in every state of Australia ready to run. We had many lower house seats. We'd have over 100 applications for lower house seats to run for the party that weren't able to run. And so Grace was a big part of that. She helped campaign in New England, and I think Grace, and not just me saying this, but many other people have said it, that Grace has a great political future, and we need more women in politics and women that have a brain, have intelligence and have passion and want to make a difference. So I think Grace is in for a great political career, and you never know, she might be running for the state for Northern Tablelands, and we won't tell Adam Marshall that yet because he's just enjoying his honeymoon stage at this point. So give Grace a big hand. I want to acknowledge Ben. Ben is a press release extraordinaire. We were joking that maybe the Northern Daily Leader and the papers in New England would start to pay him because there have been so many articles written word for word about 21st Century Australia and our campaign. That's because Ben's been sending out at least 12 press releases a day. They must be sick of seeing emails from Ben, but if we could add up the amount of articles that have been written, which have been just cut and paste of the exact press release we sent out, it goes to show that journalists don't have to do much these days if they've got PR people like Ben writing their copy for them. So I do not only acknowledge Ben, but I do acknowledge Fairfax Media. They've given us a fair go in the seat of New England, and that's all we ask for. We don't ask for favouritism. We just ask for a fair go. And I want to acknowledge Fairfax Media because I used to be opposed to them, but after seeing News Corp's behaviour and the ABC's behaviour, I think it's a good thing that we have Fairfax Media in this country. I also want to acknowledge Alan Edwards. Can we give Alan a big hand? I first worked with Alan over a decade ago, and it's amazing the people that are coming back into our lives and forming part of the organisation. And Alan and his partner have done an amazing amount of work in the Armidale office and supporting us and putting so much in, and I really appreciate that. And a lot of other people do as well. And it's people like Alan that make such a difference because you need that level of help, and that's made a big difference, especially in the Armidale area. And we look forward to working with you more in the future, Alan. I want to also thank you very much. Someone that's not here tonight. That if you know her, give her a big hug. She couldn't make it tonight, but in Tamworth, she's our Tamworth queen, and she drummed up a lot of votes there, a lot of supporters, is Nairi. For some of you know Nairi, she's an amazing lady, very dedicated, and we caught up with her today. And it's people like her, the heart and soul of this country. And there was more Nairis in this world, we'd have a better country and a better New England. And I wish she could be here tonight, but Nairi, I no doubt you'll be watching this. And we love you, we thank you very much, and we just want more of you. Some other people that I want to acknowledge, Sophie Bell. Sophie, give Sophie a very big hand. So Cassie couldn't have done her job without Sophie's assistance, and Sophie and Cassie are always smiling and keeping the show on the road, and with Ben and the local team here. It's been an awesome job. And also Sam, thank you for your contribution when you've been able to as well. Mr. Sam Westpac, that's Westpac Sam. I know there's a lot of other people that we want to thank, and we've got some gifts for doing that. I want to acknowledge some of the people that have travelled a long way to be here. Jono, Senate candidate for Victoria. They've got more sunshine today than he has in a long time living in Melbourne. And other friends such as Jimmy, they've travelled down, appreciate that. Some of our 21st Century members in Sandy, that's called a train all the way from Caringbah in Sydney to be here with her son to help out. We had Melinda drive all the way from Sunshine Coast to help out on the booth just for a couple of hours, and then she drove all the way back today to Sunshine Coast. That's the dedication. We have people in this country that will drive 8 hours to be here to hand out how to vote cards for our party for a couple of hours, and they have to drive back. I mean, that is awesome dedication. And Neil and Suzanne that have travelled some distance from Dalby, I believe, to be here as well. And there's countless stories. Give them a big hand. there is countless stories of people that have been so supportive, not just here tonight, but the amount of messages I've received today and yesterday, not only on Facebook but SMS and email over the last few days from around this country, has been enormous, and that really is the wind beneath our wings. The fact that we are representing so many people, hundreds of thousands of people already, and that is spreading. Because time this next election comes, which hopefully is only a year away, not 3 years away, but whenever it is, we have time to prepare and be ready for that. And I'm not sure what many of us will do next week without us political junkies, but without a campaign to run, we forget what normal life is. But I'm sure I can get back to some of my companies and say hi to my staff that haven't seen me for a long time. But we're certainly looking forward to continuing this journey of a policy think tank, a political movement, and also the political party.